one of the advantages, imagine that you're trying to pick someone up and it's going pretty well. Well, there's two sources of reward there. One is it's going pretty well. The second is you're the sort of person who, in this situation, can implement a strategy that's going well, right? So not only is it a signal that you're making progress, it's a signal that the structure that you're using to guide your actions and your perceptions while you're making progress is working. So it validates the whole damn theory, and that will echo through your entire hierarchy of presupposition. It's especially true. I used a mating scenario because those are particularly relevant to self-esteem, let's say, which is a word that no one should ever be allowed to use, but it's a word that we'll use in this situation nonetheless. So, and it's hard to tell exactly what's being reinforced or rewarded. Reward is feeling good. Reinforcement is how the structures that you're using to perceive and approach, what you're perceiving and approaching, are asked to grow. Okay, so most of the time, if something happens that's rewarding, what that means is the structures that you have been using to bring about that outcome are actually told to grow a bit, get stronger. And dopamine seems to do that, as well as making you feel good. And sometimes I wonder, it's not exactly this, because you can separate reward and reinforcement. But sometimes I wonder if the goodness of feeling isn't associated with the thriving and flourishing of neural tissue. It's like it's an invitation to grow instead of die, because if you're being punished and threatened all the time, then the systems that are leading you to be in those situations do get extinguished fundamentally. They get starved of what gives them life, and they wither away or are inhibited. I don't think that's very pleasant. Okay, so you got your map, and you got the world, and you're acting out this map, and hopefully the match between your map and the world is such that the map matches the world. And if it doesn't, you get an anomaly. And then the anomaly can be of different sizes, proportionate to the hierarchy, and then your emotional response is proportionate to where the anomaly seems to rest in the hierarchy as well, subject to your own neuroticism, say, and your own competence, which we could think of as somewhat separate phenomena. Okay, so then you can say, the reason that people don't like other people who are foreigners, say, or different ethnicity, or who have different belief systems, is because they appear to challenge the integrity of that map. And so, because their belief systems and the way they act, first of all, aren't very well mapped by the map, so you don't know what the hell those people are up to, and the differences may be much smaller than you think, but what do you know? You don't know. Plus, if their belief systems come with them, which they will, that has an indeterminate effect on the structure, the map, and it also has an indeterminate effect on your position within the map. And so then those theories, and part of that is a theory that I developed in a book called Maps of Meaning, that theory proposes, at least in part, that the reason that people cling to their belief systems the way they do is because if their belief systems are disrupted at a high level, low resolution level, just at the level of action, or way the hell up the hierarchy in terms of the definition of the good or what constitutes a redeemed person or something like that, then that brings out tremendous disruption. And then you'd expect two phenomena from that. You'd expect that people would be afraid, say, of foreigners or of strange ideas, but also that they'd be kind of interested in them. And I think generally our interactions with people who aren't like us, generally, or we think aren't like us, whatever, take place at a level where it's more curiosity than fear. I mean, that would be almost the definition of a sustainable, tolerant society, right? Everything around you is functioning well enough so that if someone comes along who's different in belief or action, you're not going to assume they're a fatal threat to the integrity of your hierarchy and fall apart because of terror and curiosity, mostly terror. Okay, so now you can vary that theory a bit, and you can say, wait a minute, maybe it's not just anxiety that gets disinhibited when your belief systems are destructured to some degree. Maybe it's more primordial. Maybe what happens is that it's more akin to the generalized stress response, which seems to be a more primordial and global reaction to threat or anomaly. And the generalized stress response basically occurs, or seems to occur, when the hippocampus, so the hippocampus, the map seems to be associated with the hippocampus in some way. Now the hippocampus is also the part of the brain that takes what you're observing and transforms it, so short-term attention, and transforms it into medium to long-term memory. So first of all, the hippocampus keeps track of what it is that you're seeing, and then it stores it there for a while, and then later it integrates it into the generalized map. And so then the hippocampus seems to sort of stay at the nexus of the map, which is likely represented cortically to a large degree, and what's actually going on in the world. So, for example, Gray's hypothesis, roughly speaking, is you're watching what goes on in the world, and the map is telling you what's supposed to happen, and then when something else happens, the hippocampus detects that, that's a mismatch, and then somehow it makes you afraid. Now, here's how it seems to make you afraid. This, I don't think, was really laid out well until Vinogradova discovered it when she was really old. I mean, she was doing most of her work in the early 60s, but she laid this out, I think it was in the early 2000s. What she showed was that, okay, so you have this part in the bottom of your nervous system, way the hell down there, called the reticular activating system, and it's old, and it's the thing upon which your sleep-wake cycles depend. So, and your consciousness. If your reticular activating system is down, it's like you're unplugged. So if you have a car accident, it's way back here. If you have a car accident and your head twists enough to shear off the neural projections from the reticular activating system, you're in a permanent and irreversible coma. That's pretty interesting, eh? Because it means your consciousness depends on something that's not new, like your, relatively new, like your cortical cap, but something that's so damn old that it was there before your whole brain. So that's pretty weird.